Web3.tv.
Everyone's talking about how AI is getting smarter. Smarter models, better intuition, all with the mission to achieve super intelligence. It's something that's not only fueling AI compute, but companies are pouring billions of dollars just not to fall behind. But what if this has all been overpromised and we're just throwing money into a bottomless pit? New research suggests that AI might not be getting smarter at all, and that AI reasoning might just be memorization at scale. It raises questions about the future of AI and whether AI reasoning is just overhyped. But to understand this further, I'm joined by Theo Valich, CEO and founder of Ecoblox. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for the invite. Pleasure to be here.
And how's your day so far?
Well, in a typical Dubai fashion, my Sunday started in Dubai. Monday was Paris. Flew back yesterday. Now I'm in very lovely company with you and people in the dark room. And we're discussing what the future is bringing. So what's there not to like?
Yeah, it's a really exciting topic. But before we dive into what's happening in AI, I want to talk about your journey with Ecoblox. Your company now is seen kind of like an AI darling in the AI world. So tell me a little bit more about what you did right early on to get ahead.
Well, first and foremost, thanks. These words are really flattering. And, I think when it comes to AI, when it comes to compute, it's just a matter of being not too far ahead, not being too far behind. So at Ecoblox, we started our journey about 3 years ago, when in UAE, there was really a huge push to move towards renewable energy. Remember, we live in a country that 10, 15 years ago, 2% of energy mix was renewable. Today, we're almost at half that. And in all honesty, I don't think that vision of 2040 being fully renewable is going to happen in 2040. Knowing this place is going to happen way, way sooner. And, just being right time, right place. And this is before ChatGPT and so on. So our idea was more 5G networks, 6G networks are coming, how we can stream video live, how we can enable experiences like Pokemon Go, right? Even though it seemed like a decade-old fab, there's still 10 million people plus playing it. So it was, let's create a solution that can serve the telecom industry, can serve the cloud, can serve whatever comes our way as humans. And just 6-7 months after we actually developed our first modular data center, ChatGPT came out. I think it had a record sky-high speed to get to 100 million users. Now they no longer disclose the numbers, but you can see that investment. So we just decided to, how do we enable this dawn? Because if you talk about AI, you talk about cloud, if you talk about recording video, anything that we use as humans, right? It all requires a massive amount of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So at Ecoblox, that's what we do.
So you kind of had the solutions for AI, and then it just grew from there, because you can provide AI data centers for startups all the way up to governments.
So we as Ecoblox, we work very closely within the industry leaders. So our chief sales and marketing officer is a member of Linux Technical Steering Committee for telecoms. So we have very good insight what's happening, 5G, 5.5G, 6G, which models are coming to the market in terms of AI. And these industry leaders, they come to us and say, hey, a regular data center to build is 18 months, 24 months, sometimes 3 years. With Ecoblox, with our solutions, we basically deploy a data center. I think the fastest that we worked on was a couple of weeks for a 10 megawatt facility, which these numbers mean nothing to people. But let's say we deployed 2,000 GPUs, 5,000 GPUs in months instead of years.
Yeah, and now when we look at AI, the next big frontier in the industry is reasoning. But there's been a few new research papers that have come out. One is from Apple, and they're casting doubts on AI and its limits. So, for example, in Apple's paper, it says that when you throw these AI reasoning models with complex reasoning tasks, eventually at some point they fail. So I want to ask you about the AI reasoning hype and whether these models hold up in real world use case scenarios and beyond the actual benchmark tests.
So it's really funny that the paper comes from Apple, which is a company that's been selling Apple Intelligence without actually Apple Intelligence services on the market. They have products which they claim that they are Apple AI, but as Marcus Brownlee recently did a video, it's like, so where is it? So can we expect Siri to become better? I mean, people at Apple used to laugh at Samsung Bixby. Now Bixby is more advanced than Siri, and I think OK Google is pretty much the best this virtual assistant. So to answer your question, what is a benchmark? I look into benchmarks, and they're kind of like as useful as cars, right? Who is the fastest to 100 kilometers an hour? And I mean, then you get stuck in traffic. So it's a moot point. So where the problem with benchmarks lies is at the end of the day, you're simulating. You're trying to simulate how a user is going to use something. If we take a look at Anthropic, if we take a look at, for instance, the work on ASI, so Alliance Superintelligence in cars, they're now shipping models into cars, which measure telemetry and so on. And I think the first partnership that they did is with Mansouri, and there is more than 50 car manufacturers lined up. So can a benchmark really tell a story? I'd rather like to ask how many millions of users you have, what your technology is used for. Because remember, these algorithms, at the end of the day, are algorithms. They can only do compute based on the input that we give them.
Yeah.
So if we give them bad info.
But these benchmark tests are these very simple reasoning tasks, like the Tower of Hanoi, which uses 3 pillars, and then you're meant to put discs, and the biggest one goes on the bottom, and then you put smaller discs on top. And it's basically what you'd give a toddler to understand their cognitive skills. So they did this reasoning task on the best AI reasoning models on the market, and they all did relatively well, but when they put one more complexity to it, they all just failed. So why are they failing on such basic tasks?
Where current models, and remember, we're talking about what's called a large language model, so LLMs, and multimodal AI, multi-action model, or large action models, they're coming to the market, and you're probably now starting to see these videos. So where the investment goes, this is where AI is going to be good. Where the investment is not going, it's not going to perform. It's a tool. Now, what can really AI do? Should it solve toddlers' issues, or should we be talking about medicine, real usable self-driving cars instead of what we kind of have today? We're not there yet. But AI, in terms of dollars being put into AI as technology, 3, 4, 5 years.
So it's basically reasoning on the information that it already has. And when it comes to that information, it can then perform thinking. Is that correct?
Reasoning and expect that AI is going to work like a toddler is, I think, quite frankly, a waste of money. Because there is so many things more than AI can do and is doing today.
Okay. And what are those things? And if you were to generalize?
So
what is AI really good at right now, if we look at the current state of AI?
If we look today into AI, it's starting to be massively used in education, just not in the way how we predict. If you take a look at the profile of how many people are using AI to write school essays, to actually research. Even in Google itself, now when you type in a result, first you get like AI, then you get web links. So where AI is already used and it's already kind of creeping into our lives is faster access to data and faster access to process data.
But if we just look at the whole hype around AI reasoning and superintelligence, we were kind of promised that AI will be able to achieve human-like powers. It could think like a human and even find, let's say, a cure for cancer. But if it's not really reasoning, then how would you define what AI is today? Like, what is AI reasoning?
That's actually a really good question, because the answer is, the short answer would be whatever company pitches to get funding from the investment community. So the most important thing about what is reasoning. So we have this machine learning, then on top of it, we have what we call AI. Now above it, we have what's called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And then ultimately we're going towards super AI, super intelligence, and so on. Can AI be smarter than a human? It all depends how we define smart. Like, would I put my faith in a car operated by AI? The answer to that is yes and no, right? Yes, it will react faster than a human. It does millions and billions of operations per second. But the reality is it's connected to sensors and cameras that cost I said too much. $1, $2 for parking sensors, $10 for cameras. So that AI can only be better if the input improves.
Yeah. But do you think AI reasoning is overhyped?
I would actually reverse it and say, what isn't overhyped?
That's true.
So we live in a hype cycle where everything is hype.
And when we look at AI reasoning today, would you agree with the statement that it's just memorization at scale?
So, well, yes and no, right? In fact, I think AI reasoning, we're at this precipice, because most of the data centers, most that we have with cloud, was storing data, not processing. That picture that you took is replicated on hundreds of servers and in your devices that you have. AI reasoning is now the first time for real that we're putting compute in the data center, so outside of supercomputer, where we're really starting to crunch that data and get a different result. So I would say we are at the beginning of reasoning, but also the models that we have right now, to be honest, I think that they're too crude to really give a proper reasoning in a way, right? I think the key app for AI will be how fast can these models go through data in different languages, because let's face it, predominantly AI is in English and Chinese. Now, there is 1 billion people talking Spanish. There is about 1.9 billion Muslims in the world. Quran is in Arabic. It does have multiple translations. We're still at a very primitive stage of going through Arabic scripts and so on in terms of data processing. So for reasoning, I would say we need 2 to 3 more years for more data to be processed, but then also to build models that talk between models.
Yeah.
This is what we call this multimodal. So this is ChatGPT, this is DeepSeek. And by the way, DeepSeek is amazing in some things. Oh, this is O3. Oh, this is Claude. Oh, this is Copilot. So we have, for Microsoft, so we have these multiple models, but we still haven't found a way to get them all to talk to each other. Yeah.
But if we just look at, let's say, how AI reasoning is being put out there today, so is the industry chasing the wrong type of intelligence? And are investors buying into kind of this hype narrative, and what will it do to the trade of AI?
Is it overhyped? I would argue yes. But at the same time, it has to be.
So are companies chasing the wrong type of intelligence?
I wouldn't say wrong. I would say we are like in an experimental phase. Is it overhyped? I would argue yes. But at the same time, it has to be.
So are companies chasing the wrong type of intelligence?
I wouldn't say wrong. I would say we are like in an experimental phase. So we already know ChatGPT works. Amazing. DeepSeek shows up. Okay, the story about 50,000 GPUs and 2,000 GPUs and so on was, now we know, pure BS. Right? There is a private equity fund behind DeepSeek that, know how to make a winner. So I would say if you're a company right now, it's not a matter of you buying into the hype. You need to see where your business is, where your business is going. And if you can do a transition, so as you say, noise, forget about it. Look into your business, look into your private life, look into what you believe that AI is going to be used for. And then you need to put your dollars there. Otherwise, yeah, you follow that VC benchmark of 1,000 startups, 300 a scam, 500 good didn't happen, and 80 succeeds.
And when we look at, let's say, Jensen Huang, he went out and said that in order to achieve AI reasoning, we need 100 times more of compute than what they previously estimated. So if we develop these very capable models and potentially achieve superintelligence, can the current infrastructure that we have, let's say data centers that are processing GPUs, is it anywhere near ready to even support that scale?
So again, a very good question. So you've done your research really well. So the thing is, with NVIDIA, it's an ecosystem play. It's all about economy of scale. And to give you the shortest answer, are we ready? No. That's why we created Ecoblox. We cannot wait for 2 years for technology to be deployed. 6G is coming, it's behind the door. It's literally putting what we today pay for fiber at home, it's putting it into our phones. What that capability is bringing new players, right? So are we ready today for the world of tomorrow? No. Are we going to be ready tomorrow for the world of tomorrow? Yeah, thanks to hype cycles.
Yeah, no, because that's the one thing that I've been thinking about, whether the infrastructure is even capable to enable AI reasoning, because it just needs so much compute. So it's something that, for me, I wonder whether that would stall the industry.
You are right. The whole premise of I'm gonna build exhibition-sized block and put it in the middle of nowhere because it's cheaper, quite frankly, I think that's a completely wrong model. You build a $2 billion data center in the middle of nowhere. Yes, that's going to enable self-driving cars in the city and those cars that talk to each other. There is physics, right? So if two cars are like this and you need to talk to a data center 2,000 kilometers away for them to talk, yeah, forget it. It's wrong, which is why the industry has been moving toward these smaller deployments so that you can deploy a data center in a building. That we have a rack scale data center, so it's literally not more footprint than this table, which is next to us. It's a little bit taller than us, but it can be put into any building, and then you have a smart building, right? So, and not just one, but with that one rack, you can serve quite a few. Now, that data center should talk to that big one somewhere far, far away. So we as humans, we always kind of went like lungs. It's like, first it's the mainframes. Compute is only available to a few. Then everybody has a computer at the desktop. Then again, with internet, now it's the cloud. Now we're again moving away from the cloud into everybody needs their own compute, right? Because let's be honest, you have a laptop. If you take 5, 6, 7 of your old laptops, you connect them together, you can run DeepSeek, you can run different AI models. You don't need that infra.
Yeah.
But you did needed that infra for that DeepSeek to be created, or ChatGPT, or Claude, and so on. So it's kind of like they build a huge building, but then it comes to our pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. And for you, what is AI's main limitation right now?
Quite frankly, it's just the quality of inputs, right? We say we want self-driving cars. You look into the car industry, there's still brand new cars coming from the Western manufacturers, right? That use a bus, a way how data flows in a car, which is older than my mother. So it's obvious that AI hits the limits that cloud hit, that any of these promises that we have hit. And that's just, we need better inputs. We need better sensors so that AI can do a better job. And this is why China and Tesla, for that matter, are so far ahead in the automotive industry. You take a look into the growth of Emirates Airlines, you take a look at Turkish Airlines, you take a look at Qatar. If you forget all the noise about them, those are data-driven organizations that optimized every experience that they could. And that's why they got ahead.
If we go back to the paper and we look at all these companies that are now investing so much into AI, billions of dollars, is this paper a wake-up call? And is there a guarantee that they will get a payoff, or any guarantee that they will get a payoff from their investment when it comes to investing in the AI reasoning?
That this paper and a couple of others that are properly skeptical, I completely agree with them. There is a limit to reasoning, but there is a limit to reasoning because you guys haven't made your own engines. You're trying to get an engine from, I will paraphrase, we're trying to get the engine from a Mercedes fit in a Nissan. It will work. There are crazy people that put V8s in, even in a Smart, even in an Aston Martin Signet, right? But will it work optimal? So the only solution for a company that says, hey, logical models, they don't work, we tried it, it doesn't work. With whom did you try? Apple using Google, right?
Yeah, because that's what kind of Anthropic said. They released their own paper called The Illusion of Thinking. And they highlighted that this paper did have some flaws on how they applied the reasoning benchmarks. But if you look at it, what are your main takeaways?
There is really no space for Anthropic or Apple or anybody to criticize AI. It's, if you are in a situation where you're a customer-focused enterprise, whichever that is, whether you're a doctor or a driver or a pilot, what is the easiest way to get the answer to the challenge that you're facing?
And that's what it should be about, right?
Yeah. Everything else is, we're talking about turbochargers on a V8. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It matters if you're an enthusiast.
I want to talk a little bit more about NVIDIA, because yesterday it made history surpassing the $4 trillion valuation mark. But if we look at NVIDIA stock, it's had a very turbulent year. First was the whole DeepSeek news that happened and its stock tumbled. And then also with Trump's trade tariffs and many of its GPUs not being allowed to the Chinese market. But it's rebounded over 70% since then. So what kind of was responsible for that push in the NVIDIA stock?
Well, actually, adoption. So to answer your question, NVIDIA's limit to valuation only comes to the point of how many users they're going to have.
So how much further do you think the stock can go this year? And what do you think would be the contributing factors to drive the stock up?
So how far can NVIDIA go? As much as the value of the industry puts in. And remember one thing, NVIDIA is no longer just a hardware company. Just a few weeks ago, and this might be the answer why the stock went so high, just a few weeks ago, they launched their own cloud services, Neo Cloud, which enables companies like ours and others to actually enter the infrastructure space. So if you think about it, on the big players, we had, Equinix, Amazon, Google, Azure from Microsoft. Okay, Apple has its own infra. Probably was like 5 or 6 players. How many new Neo clouds are coming? They're just taking this software stack from NVIDIA and enabling the whole world or enabling their target market.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of their strategy right now. Even they did a massive deal with the EU to expand their AI infrastructure. And now with the cloud, it's like they want the world to be using their infrastructure to kind of keep that monopoly.
Well, monopoly is actually a very strong word, because I would argue NVIDIA is definitely not a monopoly. They are a market leader. Monopoly would mean that they're kind of like setting themselves and that they're kind of controlling the market and so on. It's simply not true. You have a choice. You can buy AMD. Their tools are, I would say, not as developed, not my opinion, but what we hear in the industry. They're not as well developed as NVIDIA, because at the end of the day, NVIDIA has been working on CUDA for now, more than 20 years. So of course they have advantage. They're not a monopoly. But where they're going, as you say, European Union, and I'm looking into, look at Middle East, look at Africa, look at Southeast Asia, look at China, look at US and Canada. I think if anything is going to wean us of fossil fuels is the fact the data center has to be super efficient, so it cannot use anything which is not optimal. So wind, solar, nuclear, that's kind of the best option.
And what are going to be some of the headwinds or threats to NVIDIA? Because surely companies are going to want to compete with NVIDIA more going forward.
So the biggest headwind is, let's say that Mother Nature decides to send a tsunami and this time hits Taiwan instead of Japan. Our dopamine hit with all those screens would be hit. So in terms of force majeure, so let's say geopolitics, let's say disasters, we already had like earthquakes in Taiwan that increased the cost of memory by like 40-50%, and that part is still there because the requirements of all of us grew. So the market is growing. I think they're limited by the capacity of their factories, which are not there. So NVIDIA rents space or buys these wafers from different vendors. So that's a limitation. Limitation is also accessibility of power. You can have this beautiful power generating source, hydro, solar, whatever, but if all power goes in the high voltage rail and goes somewhere, you cannot exactly build a data center there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So power, geopolitics, then of course we have water as well. So I would just say
and perhaps
physical.
Increased competition from China or from companies.
So the competition part is very interesting, because NVIDIA, if you think about it, requirement for their chips is like this, they can supply this much. So this means that this amount of market is open. And we've seen like Cerebras, Grok, AMD, Qualcomm, I'm not forgetting. 10 Storms is actually really cool because they're doing everything is open source. Software, hardware, you want to make your own chip, money, you can make the magic happen. So I think going forward, there are a couple of challengers that can come and really you would say give NVIDIA a run for their money. But I would rather say capture this part of the unserved market. Because we all kind of need AI, cloud, videos.
So if you're a company and you wanted to, let's say, have a modular data center, how could they find you?
It's very easy, ecoblox.com with an X. And simply reach out to us and we can help your compute needs.
No, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me.
And that's all that we had today on Web3 Talks. My name is Lisa Amnegard. Thanks for watching.
Web3.tv